Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining today's webinar to go over the technical assistance presentation we have set up for the Rangel International Affairs Summer Enrichment Program. My name is Lily Lopez-McGee, and I will be walking you through today the Summer Enrichment Scholars application process. So the purpose of today's session is really twofold. One, we'll walk through the application step by step, going through each of the different segments of the application. And then we'll allow some time for questions related to the online application or any technical issues that applicants might be facing at this point in the session. Before we get started in the technical assistance portion of the webinar, I did want to go over just briefly what the Summer Enrichment Program is. You can find more information on our website at www.rangelprogram.org. So the Summer Enrichment Program is really designed for undergraduate students, sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are currently enrolled at an undergraduate institution here in the United States, looking for a way to gain a deeper appreciation for current issues in international affairs. It's also an opportunity for these students to gain exposure to international career opportunities and meet with professionals who are working in the field of international affairs, very broadly speaking. Throughout the course of this intense six-week program, we introduce our 15 scholars to a number of different career paths that they might be able to take related to international affairs, international development, policy, and a whole range of other different types of career trajectories. The program is housed at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and the dates for next year's session will be June 18th through July 28th. It includes 2 academic courses, one on the history of U.S. foreign policy and one on political economy, as well as seminars, including an intensive writing seminar and several trips to expose the students to, again, international affairs careers and professionals working in the field. Scholars receive full tuition payment for the 2 classes that they receive credit for, travel to and from Washington, D.C., room and board, and then a stipend for personal expenses during the summer. So just to hop right into the application system itself, I wanted to start with this application portal. So when you go in to apply to the Summer Enrichment Program, you should come to this first page, which is called the application status page. And if you notice at the top of your screen, there is a gray button right next to the logout button that says application status. And at any point, wherever you are in the application, you can click on that gray button to get back to this point in the application. The screenshots that you'll see in the presentation are just a test application. So you'll note that there are, on this image, there are 3 sections that are red and 3 that are green. The green highlighted ones are the areas of the application that are already considered complete, and the other 3 are areas that are still pending, where I'm missing items from the application. So again, this is the place where you'll come back to get to any other component of the application, and we'll go ahead and jump into the first section of the application, which is your personal profile. So this page of the application is where we really get to know a little bit about you, personal demographic information, your current and permanent address, your class standing, as well as your language and travel experience. This is also the page where we'll also ask you where the question related to the personal statement will be located, which I'll go over in just a second. But I did want to highlight 2 things about this personal profile page. You have to save this page in order for your application to populate on our end. So we won't actually be able to see that you've opened an application until after you've saved this initial page of your personal profile. And the second thing that I wanted to highlight from this page is that in order for your application to be considered, you will need to select that you are a U.S. citizen. So that little box here on the screen, be sure that you select yes, so that the application is viewable on our end. So you'll scroll down, you'll go through a whole number of demographic questions, a couple that I have not included in my screenshots really just your contact information, permanent and current address, as well as your phone numbers. And then at the bottom of the page is where you'll find the personal statement. The personal statement section is really brief. It's easy to miss. So I've highlighted it here in red. Um, you'll notice that there is also a word counter. So my suggestion to any applicant is that you complete your personal statement outside of the application system, and then you copy and paste and drop it here. I did mention in the last slide that you will need to save this page before moving on. You can come back and update your personal profile at any point during the application process up until February 1st when the application closes. So don't worry about having to have your personal statement completed by the time that you're opening your application. You can just put in placeholder text as I have here. I want to be a Rangel Scholar in the interim. So you'll go ahead and type in that placeholder information, and then you'll include your electronic signature, really, which is really just you typing in your name, and then you'll save and hit next. Once you've saved that portion of your personal profile, you'll be taken to your educational history section, where you'll be able to add any institutions that you've attended. So here you'll want to put in information for any college or university that you've attended that you've received credit for. Many of our applicants have received community college transfer credits. You would include your community college here as well. And you can do that by pressing either one of these buttons, add an undergraduate institution or adding an institution. They will essentially take you to the same page. A couple of things to highlight here. The institution, you'll be able to select from a pre-populated list of institutions. If you're not able to find your institution, you are able to select other and type it in manually. Just a note about the majors. You might type in your full major in the box that gives you the option to type in your major. When you come back to the previous page that I showed you, the major may not come up as you typed it in. It may just read social sciences and then and list whatever you had included. Don't worry, we can see the full text of what you typed in here, as well as the minor. If you've typed in something very specific and it's cutting it off, don't worry, we can still see it on our end. So those are your institutions. Those are pretty straightforward. The next section is your work, internship, and volunteer experience. So we often get asked questions about what to include here, and really this is up to you. Any work experience you've had, any volunteer experience you've had, whether it's paid or unpaid, we would certainly encourage you to put it here. If you are an after-school tutor, if you have worked at a retail store and you've done some work there, add it all here. We want to see the type of activities the type of work and volunteer activities that you've been involved in. This is essentially our version of a resume. There is no space for you to upload a resume. So whatever you would otherwise add on your resume, please include that here as well. This is where this is just a screenshot of what that looks like when you go into add an experience here. In the responsibilities section, I would really use this as an opportunity to highlight any responsibilities that you've had, any of the position highlights, and maybe you received Employee of the Month. Add that here. We want to know that. So there's definitely an opportunity to highlight all of the things that you've been involved in. The next section that you'll be taken to is called the Career and Personal Highlights section. Here you'll essentially see a series of text boxes, and there are a couple of things that I want to mention here. There is we often get the question as to how much students should include in this section. You can go for the very brief version of the highlights for each of these sections by adding a bullet. And just listing the name. However, if the scholarship, if the award, if the program it is that you're listing here is very specific to your institution, and someone may not know exactly what it is, you're welcome to add a sentence or two describing what the opportunity was that you received. So let's say you received University X scholarship award for your scholarly achievements during your freshman year. You can include a brief description of what that was and what you had to earn to get that award. They're not intended to be additional essays, so try to keep your comments brief, but there is additional space to add context to the things that you list here. The other thing that I'll mention here is that the formatting for this and the personal statements gets a little wonky. Um, Sometimes the paragraph breaks will show up, and sometimes they won't. The thing that you should note is that if you put a hyphen in front of it, there should be paragraph breaks on our end, and our reviewers, our selection committee, is well aware of our formatting quirks. So don't worry so much about the formatting. We really want you to focus on the content here. The next section that you'll be asked to complete is the additional required information section. So here we'll ask for a copy of your proof of citizenship. This can be a copy of your passport, the picture page of your passport, an image of your birth certificate, or a copy of your certificate of naturalization. You would include a copy of that here. You can upload an image file like a JPEG or a PNG file, but you can also upload a PDF or a Word document. And then you will also upload your transcripts here as well. The transcripts can be unofficial versions of your transcripts. So the student version that you might find in your online student portal, those are fine. But you will need to make sure that the copy that you're uploading has your name on it, your GPA, your overall GPA, or at least the GPAs from the semesters where you've received credit, and your enrollment proof of enrollment for spring 2018. One of the requirements for the Summer Enrichment Program is that you're currently full-time enrolled at the time of application. So on your transcripts here, we will want to see the coursework that you're enrolled in for spring of 2018. Just a couple of things to note about the uploads. Our system will only accept individual files that are up to 10 megabytes. So be sure to check the size of your file. If you're having trouble uploading something, it's kicking you back out and saying that it won't accept it. It's often because of the file size or because of the name. Keep the names really simple. Try not to include apostrophes or any unique characters like percentage signs, dollar signs, or any of those types of things. Those things will cause our system to kick you back out and may not upload the file properly. The next section that you'll have to complete is the recommender section. This is the area of the application where you will put in your 3 recommenders' contact information. A couple of things to note here. Whatever email address you use for the recommender should also be the email address that your professor or recommender is planning to use to set up their account with our system. So once you put in your recommenders' names, you'll be able to go down to the bottom and save. And as soon as you save, an automatic email will be generated that will go straight to your recommender and copy your email to that. It's a generic email. If your professor says that they haven't received the recommendation, the information email, you can also forward that email on to them. Sometimes it gets caught up in the spam and junk folder, and having you forward it along may prevent that from being tracked directly to the junk folder. So you can update the recommenders if, let's say, one of your recommenders says that they're not going to be able to fill out the form anymore. You can come back in here and swap out the previous recommenders information for whoever it is that you would like to replace for your new recommendation. So a couple of things to note here. Just some tips and suggestions, technically speaking, that are helpful when you're coming through the application system. PDFs are often easier for us to view on our end. You don't have to include them as PDFs. Word documents, like I mentioned, will still be accepted by our system. But if you have the opportunity to do a PDF, that's always helpful. It just ensures that the formatting doesn't change. And anything that needs to be that might be unique to your computer. Let's say you're working from a Mac and you're worried that the fonts may not translate back. It's always easier just to have the PDF version. Also, you noticed that in the upload section, there are only two upload options for folks who have more than one transcript. You'll need to combine your transcripts into one document. So there are multiple phone applications now that you can do that with. You can also there are also free websites where you can upload PDFs and merge those into one. And then you can upload those as one to our system. I mentioned this before, but keep the file name simple. I would just recommend using your last name hyphen and whatever the document is that you're uploading. So if it's your transcripts, use Stevens hyphen transcripts, and that uh, should ensure that your transcripts are uploaded properly. I mentioned this before, but just if you're copying and pasting from a Word document, your personal statement, just note that the formatting may not come through exactly as it is. In your personal statements specifically, I would add 2 or 3 paragraph spaces in between each paragraph, just to make sure that the formatting does translate. And then in the highlights section, you can include hyphens as bullets to make sure that there is a paragraph in between each line. Again, with the letters of recommendation, if the recommender mentioned they hadn't received the email notifying them that you've set them up in the system, you can forward along the email that you were copied to. That's the same email that they would have received. So feel free to do that. You can also contact us and we will reissue the information to them. We also have a recommender's guide if you're finding that your recommender is running into quite a bit of trouble with getting the form completed online. And they can email us directly and we will share that information with them. All of the materials, including the 3 recommendations, need to be completed by February 1st in order for your application to be complete. If you have all of your materials in before the February 1st deadline, you can also early submit. Our application, as you may have noticed, does not have a submit button for you to submit at any time. It just automatically closes and brings in all of the applications that were opened on that February 1st deadline. So if you do want us to start looking through your application materials to make sure that we have everything that we need, you can reach out to us at any point before the February 1st deadline. We're happy to do that. Just a reminder of the things that you'll need when you're coming through our application process: the updated personal profile information. Again, make sure that you save this page to make sure that your application is populating on our end. If you try to go straight to the recommender section without saving your personal profile, you're going to get an error from our website. So be sure that you save your personal profile before you hop on to the other sections of the application. Your statement of interest. Again, be sure to proofread. This is one of the things that our system may not catch automatically. So make sure that you've typed it out somewhere else before and that you've had someone else look over it before you complete your application. Be sure that you've included all of the career and academic highlights in that portion of the application. Include all of the information about the institutions where you've attended in your education history. If you've studied abroad and you received 15 credits, for example, we would like to see that as well. If the study abroad came from your home institution and you don't need to include a separate institution name there. It's only if it was if you're receiving credits from a different institution. And then a reminder: make sure that the transcripts that we have on file include every institution you've attended. There is another quick note that I wanted to make mention of for the transcripts. If your transcript is, if you received an official version of your transcript in an electronic form, generally those have expiration dates. So don't upload the copy that you downloaded directly from the eParchment website. My recommendation is to print it out and scan it. And I know that sounds a little bit redundant, but it ensures that we're able to see your transcript on our end and we're not having to go back to ask you for a different copy of it. Also, make sure, again, that all of the transcripts from your institutions are combined into one PDF. If you're having trouble doing this, you can reach out to us, and we're happy to share some resources with you about where you can go to combine those files. Um, and then also a copy of your proof of citizenship, your passport page, certificate of naturalization or birth certificate are appropriate copies of proof of citizenship. We are not able to accept driver's licenses as proof of citizenship or social security cards. It can only be one of the other three versions of them that I mentioned earlier. And then your letters of recommendation. Make sure that you're touching base with your recommenders frequently, asking them if they've run into technical issues, or just checking in with them to make sure that they have everything they need to complete their portion of the recommendation form. After the initial email that they get from our system, they will not get additional reminders, so you will have to do the reminding independently. So that concludes the formal part of the presentation. I did want to leave contact information for our staff. Our Rangel program at howard.edu email is checked on a daily basis, and you should get a response within 24 to 48 hours of submitting your question. The only caveat I'll add to that is that we will be out. Howard University is closed from the 18th to the 2nd. So our responses to the emails that come into the Rangel program email may be a little bit delayed during that period. Otherwise, you're also welcome to contact me directly. My email is listed here as well as on the website. We are happy to take any questions that you have offline. And again, if you have any questions or if you're running into technical trouble, don't wait until January 29th, January 30th to reach out to us. We want to make sure that you have all the information in advance. So feel free to reach out to us at any point when you need additional information. So it looks like we don't have any questions at this point. So I'll go ahead and leave my contact information up here. And if there are other questions, I will look forward to receiving those via email. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will look forward to receiving your application.